When this House voted for Section 9 of the Executive Formation Act, it was argued that Parliament had the right to legislate on abortion in Northern Ireland in the absence of a functioning Assembly. But that Assembly has now been restored for almost 5 months. So it absolutely is not the right way forward for Parliament to vote on these regulations. That point is greatly strengthened by the fact that not only has the Assembly been restored, Mr. Speaker, but on Tuesday this week it voted in a motion by an absolute majority to reject these unamendable regulations. An absolute majority of the Assembly of 90 members voted to reject them. The will of the people of Northern Ireland has spoken. The Government has said that its hands are tied because the law is clear. It must bring the regulations forward for a vote in Northern Ireland. But having taken legal advice at the highest level, I discovered that the law is not at all clear on this, and that there actually is as good a legal argument that the Government is under no such obligation. In this regard, and of huge importance, I note the submissions to the Secondary Legislation Scrutiny Committee from 2 QCs, who also argue the Secretary of State is under no obligation to press these regulations to a vote. To do so will fundamentally breach the devolution settlement and cause a constitutional predicament of the Government's own making. Mr. Speaker, the Secretary of State would also be well advised not to bring these regulations to a vote because they sanction abortion for non-fatal disability up to birth, something that around 75 members of the Assembly this week voted against. It is unthinkable that the Government should present such a discriminatory provision which was not even required by CEDAW. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, as Heidi Crowther, the very powerful disability rights campaigner with Down syndrome, has said, I would now call on the Government not to ask MPs and peers to vote for regulations that contain discriminatory provisions that tell people like me that we should not exist. I today would do the same. The Government should withdraw these regulations, respect the fact that devolution has been restored, and rather than seek to further undermine devolution and allow the Northern Ireland Assembly its rightful place to legislate it on its own abortion law.